It is now. Now, how are you gonna put it on the internet? Don't worry about that. We'll figure that out later. Okay. Hey everyone, my name is Peter Hall.
My name is Josh Hall.
And we're twin brothers, and we call ourselves the Movie Maniacs.
Thing 1 and Thing 2.
Today we're going to be talking about the latest Star Wars movie called Rogue One, and it's being listed as a standalone film because one of the main differences about this movie is that there is no Star Wars crawl, but I don't really think that it is a standalone film. It's a standalone film in that
it's not part of a trilogy.
It uses entirely different characters for the most part than the other films. I mean, the original series were all about Luke and Han and Leia and Chewbacca and R2-D2 and 3PO and Darth Vader. The prequel trilogy was
all about Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, how Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader. The Force Awakens was about what happens like 20 years after the Empire was defeated.
I think it was 30.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's Chewie and Han and Princess Leia make an appearance, and so do R2-D2 and
Luke comes in at the end.
C-3PO. Yeah, Luke comes in at the very end.
He's a composite character of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda now.
Yeah, but this movie didn't have any of the original characters.
Yes, it did. It had Darth Vader and Grand Moff Tarkin.
Oh, Grand Moff Tarkin. Look that up on your phone. Who was he played by this time? Yeah, well, Peter Cushing did Grand Moff Tarkin in the original movie, A New Hope. But
did you know that he was a horror icon with Vincent Price?
Yeah.
And
we're talking about the Star Wars movies. Yeah.
That was an interesting piece of trivia. Peter Cushing was a horror icon with Vincent Price and Boris Karloff.
Anyway, in this movie, they used his image and his, I don't know if they used his voice or if they had the actor portraying him do like an imitation of his voice, but they used his image and CGI'd his image onto an actor portraying his character.
Yeah.
Look that up. Who did him in this movie?
Okay.
They did the same thing with Princess Leia.
Which is weird because Carrie Fisher was still alive at the time.
But they used her image from the A New Hope, her younger image.
That she was under heavy makeup.
Yeah, but they used her image from like A New Hope.
I know, but I thought that she was under heavy makeup.
But they CGI'd her image from A New Hope onto an actress, but they used her voice. She voiced herself, but somebody else portrayed her with her image composited onto them. Now look that up. Look up both of them.
Okay.
Anyway,
it's really weird that they did that because she was still alive. They could have had her portray herself, and then use CGI to put her younger image onto her own body or whatever.
Yeah, well, my brother's looking up these tidbits of information. I want to talk about the Nostalgia Critic and Phaelus. Both of them did.
I thought we were talking about the movie.
We are, but we're also talking about other critic reviews.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Nostalgia Critic, he actually did like a parody for his review, and the parody was pretty funny. The parody was pretty funny. I thought he was, even though he said that he liked the movie, I thought that he was overly harsh in his criticism of it, even though he had said at the end that it was good. His favorite thing about it was Darth Vader at the end.
Some of his points were, I concede some of his points. It was hard to keep track of all the characters. That didn't necessarily preclude me from having an attachment to them, but I couldn't remember all their names, and they did jump from location to location.
The only thing that was hard for me to understand was how Bodhi survived none the worse for wear after being subjected to the Borg look. Nobody has any idea what you're talking about. Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but nobody watching this will. Anyway, the only thing that I didn't understand, one of the things that I didn't understand.
It's a SpongeBob reference that the Nostalgia Critic and his co-host put into. They put a SpongeBob reference into the review.
But one of the things that I didn't understand was how Bodhi Rook, the former Imperial pilot who defected and who was being interrogated by Saw Gerrera, played by Forrest Whitaker.
Since we're doing the cast, can we talk about who did what instead of talking about who did the characters whose actors had already passed on?
Sure. But
Okay.
I'm not done talking about this.
Okay.
Yeah. Before I get interrupted again, the only thing that I really didn't understand was how Bodhi Rook, the former Imperial pilot who defected to the Alliance and who was being interrogated by Saw Gerrera, I didn't understand how he was none the worse for wear after having been subjected to the lie detector squid called the Borglet or whatever it was. I expected him to be killed, actually.
That thing was fucking creepy.
And when they finally found him, I expected him to be like, I don't know, catatonic. That's what I expected, but no.
He kind of was, but he broke out of it way too quickly for believability.
Yeah, I guess he was at first. He was catatonic for a little bit at first, but he did break out of it too quickly, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, another thing that I thought was kind of stupid was how, was his name Orso or Orson?
Director Orso Krennic.
Yeah, Orso. The only, one of the things that I thought was kind of stupid is how, director Orso Krennic forced, his name was Galen Erso, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he forced Galen Erso to, do work on the Death Star. They had been friends previously. Both of them were, Galen was a former Imperial science officer or whatever, and Orso Krennic tracked him down, killed his wife, forced Galen to abandon his daughter, and was shocked when Galen's treason to the Empire became known. So, that was the only part that I found stupid, was that he forced his former friend to work on the Death Star after killing his wife, forcing him to abandon his daughter, and then he acts all shocked and completely surprised that Galen would betray the Empire, even if it took him like 20 years to do it. But yeah, he put the weakness in the Death Star that allowed Luke to destroy it in A New Hope. That's one of the things that I like best about this movie.
Yeah,
is that it plays directly into A New Hope.
Before this movie came out, it was always assumed that the design flaw was accidental in the Death Star.
But other people theorized that it was on purpose. There were people who believed that somebody did it on purpose, and now that was proven true.
I never believed that until now. I always thought it was accidental.
Anyway,
what about you? Did you always think it was accidental until now?
I never really thought about it, but
whatever.
Yeah, so, let's see. Oh yeah, my favorite scene in the movie was when, after, Grand Moff Tarkin takes control of the Death Star away from Orso Krennic, he storms off to Mustafar, which... Mustafar! Darth Vader's lair on Mustafar looked like Sauron's tower in Mordor.
That is a pretty ironic place to make your permanent home, as it's always a constant reminder of his pain. If you think about it, it's pretty fucking ironic and deep that Vader would choose to settle there.
But Vader's lair looked like Sauron's tower in Mordor. The only thing it was missing was the Eye of Sauron. But yeah.
Let's talk about the psychology of... I've been watching YouTube videos about why Vader made his home on Mustafar, and in a way, even though he always maintained a Luke in Return of the Jedi prior to his conversion back to the light side that Anakin Skywalker was dead, his choosing to make his permanent residence on Mustafar is a reflection of a tiny bit of remorse of his choices that led him to...
I'm gonna see if we're on. I think we are. Keep going. Yeah, we're recording. Keep going.
Anyway, Darth Vader's decision to make his permanent residence on Mustafar is a small hint at.
I'm gonna get my drink.
Hint at. Are we gonna edit that out?
Don't worry about it.
Okay. It's a small hint at remorse that he regrets his choices that led him to become Darth Vader and shed the man that was once Anakin Skywalker. Well, that's what I think anyway.
Yeah, but let's talk about the movie.
Okay.
My favorite part was where Orso Krennic goes to Mustafar to talk to Darth Vader and bitch about what Grand Moff Tarkin did. And this creepy old guy shows up and says, Lord Vader.
Oh, that was one of Palpatine's aides.
Yeah, but anyway, he shows up and says, Lord Vader, he's here. And so you see like a back shot of Darth Vader in a bacta tank. He's out of his suit. Like you can see that you can see like his upper body, his legs have been chopped off, his arm is missing. You only see the back of his body, but it's pretty creepy. And so yeah,
you kind of see the front of his body as he turns around, but then it's distorted by steam.
Yeah, but you see him in the bacta tank, and so you don't see him get into his suit, but you that's obviously what he did because he comes out. And yeah, my favorite part, he says, Director Krennic, you seem unsettled. And then Krennic says, not at all, Lord Vader. It's just that there's so much to do and I'm pressed for time. And then Vader says, oh, my apologies, Director Krennic. I wouldn't want to take up your valuable time. So, then Krennic, Vader gives Krennic another verbal bashing that Grand Moff Tarkin had given him. Because Grand Moff Tarkin was always laying down these not-so-subtle threats that if the Death Star didn't work as advertised, he would have to explain himself to an audience that would not be as forgiving. So either Vader or the Emperor.
Or both.
Yeah. And so, like, right after a successful test of the Death Star, Grand Moff Tarkin says,
you know that Grand Moff Tarkin ordered that the city of Jeddah be destroyed instead of the planet to underplay Krennic's success?
Yeah, but anyway, he says, Director Krennic, I must apologize. The Death Star exceeds all expectations, and then he tells him that he's taking control of the Death Star away from him, and Krennic goes, but I built it! Me! But then he goes to Vader to bitch about Grand Moff Tarkin. And so Vader gives him another verbal bashing. But then Vader says that,
Vader force chokes him.
Yeah, Director Krennic, Vader starts to walk away, and so Director Krennic says, does this mean that I'm still in charge? And Vader stops and pauses for a second. And then you see, Krennic starting to choke, and he falls on his knees. And Vader says, be careful that you don't choke on your aspirations, Director. Be careful. Yeah. But anyway. So
let's talk about the part where he kills all the rebels who stole the Death Star plans.
No, let's talk about the part where he goes to, I forgot the name of that planet where Galen Erso was, but he goes to an Imperial he goes to a planet where an Imperial engineering facility is. That's where Galen Erso and all the engineers are working on the Death Star located. So he goes in and he says, one of you is a traitor to the Empire. I urge that man to come forward and confess to his crimes. Nobody does. So he says, very well, I shall consider this a group effort. And Galen Erso, being a noble man, jumps forward and says, it was me, I did it. There's no need to kill any of them. But to spite him, Galen Erso has his stormtroopers kill all the engineers. And the irony is that Galen Erso was being hunted down for assassination by the Rebel Alliance because they thought that they didn't know that he was betraying the Empire. So they gave orders to Cassian to kill Galen Erso on sight but they had what's her name?
Urso.
Yeah, Jyn Erso believing that they were going to extract her father from the Empire's clutches. So, Cassian has the perfect opportunity to kill Galen.
Oh yeah, the Rebel Alliance is just as underhanded as the Empire.
But he doesn't. He has him in his sights, but he doesn't kill him. He also could have killed Krennic, but he doesn't kill him either. But the Rebel Alliance orders an airstrike, and that is what kills Jyn Erso's father, Galen. And it knocks Director Krennic unconscious, but he recovers and he's able to escape. So then he goes to an Imperial planet where all the Empire's data information is stored. And Jyn tells everyone about the holographic message that her father had sent her. She saw it while she was visiting the city of Jeddah, and she saw the hologram. And her father told her about the Death Star's weakness. So after Jeddah is destroyed and she escapes, she tells the Rebel Alliance about the Death Star's weakness, but they're all scared. They don't think that Galen can be trusted. And even if he did put the weakness in, they think that it's too small to exploit. Because so they say no on a mission to steal the Death Star plans, but Jyn and a bunch of Rebel fighter pilots decide to go against the Rebel Council's orders and storm the planet anyway. What's the name of that planet that they go to?
Oh, the one that Galen Erso was on?
No, the one that had the Death Star plans.
Oh, Scarif.
Scarif, that's right. So yeah, Jyn Erso, Cassian, and a bunch of other Rebel fighter pilots decide to disobey the Rebel Council and go to Scarif to get the plans. And the battle scene for that was incredible. There are no Jedi in this movie, but there is a Jedi Temple Guardian who is blind and who looks like a Shaolin monk. He's played by this guy named Donnie Yen.
Yeah, he starred in a bunch of karate, martial arts films.
And his character was fucking fantastic. I mean, all he had was like a staff, but he could kick serious stormtrooper ass with it. They were shooting at him, and they were missing him. His scenes are hilarious. So anyway, Jyn and her friends manage to steal the Death Star plans. The Rebel Alliance fleet shows up to give them much needed support after they're able to contact the fleet and tell them what they're doing. Anyway, after Director Krennic's failure has become complete, Grand Moff Tarkin orders that the facility on Scarif be destroyed, and it's a personal fuck you to Director Krennic, who somehow screwed Grand Moff Tarkin over in like a previous backstory to this movie.
Okay. Let's talk about who did what.
Okay.
Felicity Jones as Jyn Erso. Diego Luna as Cassian Andor. They both die at the end of Rogue One, just so you know, when
Yeah, everyone dies at the end of Rogue One. Pretty much everybody dies.
I really wasn't all that surprised by it, actually. It was still kind of sad. Ben Mendelsohn as Orson Krennic, yeah. Donnie Yen as Chirrut
Imwe
as
Zatoichi-esque blind warrior
who believes in the Force. Mads Mikkelsen, he did the bad guy in Casino Royale. Yeah, Casino Royale.
But he was Galen Erso.
Alan Tudyk as
K2SO.
K2SO. He was hilarious.
Yeah.
Riz Ahmed as Bodhi Rook. Zhang Wen as Biz Malbus. He's friends with Chirrut Imwe. Forrest Whitaker as Saw Gerrera. Jimmy Smits, Genevieve O'Reilly, and Anthony Daniels reprised their roles from previous films as Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, and C-3PO respectively. James Earl Jones also reprises his role from previous films as the voice of Darth Vader, who was physically portrayed by Spencer Wielding, and Daniel Napris replacing David Prowse, who played the role in the original films. Grand Moff Tarkin and Princess Leia Organa are physically played by Guy Henry and Ingrid Delia, respectively, while digital likenesses of the late Peter Cushing and a young Carrie Fisher are used in their portrayal. Henry also provides the voice for Tarkin, while archival audio of Fisher is used. Angus Malkiness and Drew Henley are featured in their roles as Gold Leader Dutch Vander and Red Leader Garvin Dreis, respectively, via unused archival footage from A New Hope. David Ankrum, who voiced Wedge Antilles as A New Hope, reprises...
So they used stock footage for those guys.
Yeah, that was unused.
Weird.
David Ankrum, who voiced Wedge Antilles in A New Hope, reprises his role
In a vocal
cameo. Ian McElhenney and Michael Smiley play General Dan Dodonna and Dr.
Jan Dodonna.
And
Dr. Evazan.
Warwick Davis plays Weeteeth Sayubi, a member of Saw Gerrera's partisans. Additionally, Warwick Davis is
Alistair Petrie.
You know who Warwick Davis is?
No.
He's a dwarf.
He
was in the Pirates of the Caribbean films. Remember him?
Who's Dr. Evazan?
Oh.
Dr. Cornelius Evazan. An interesting side note to this movie is that Jin and Cassian run into the very same guys on Jeddah that harass Luke on Tatooine. So somehow they make it off the planet before the city is destroyed and go to Tatooine. Is Jeddah part of Tatooine?
I don't think so.
Anyway, they're in the city that's destroyed by Grand Moff Tarkin, but they make it out of the city before it's destroyed, and they harass Luke later on. And basically, they almost say the same thing that they say in A New Hope. They run into them, and Cornelius Evazan says, "Hey, you watch yourself!" And Cassian is able to calm them down. He says, "We don't want you trouble," and they rush off. So, yeah, they almost play the scene out almost exactly the same way. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But one thing that the Nostalgia Critic and me and my brother agree on was like the climax of this film. The Nostalgia Critic said that The Force Awakens, the movie, was good, but the climax was terrible. He said that
I disagreed. I thought the climax in Force Awakens was awesome.
But he said that in his review. Anyway, he said that the movie for Rogue One was meh, but the climax is awesome. Like, Darth Vader gets onto the gets onto one of the rebel ships after the Death Star plans are stolen, and he like slices through a bunch of rebel soldiers. He forces this one guy and slams him into the ceiling. That scene is fucking awesome. And so, like, almost everybody dies except one rebel soldier who manages to get away with the Death Star plans. And then we see, like, Princess Leia. She's only in, like, one scene for 10 seconds at the very end, and she title drops A New Hope. She says, "We have a new hope now," after she gets the Death Star plans. So, that was Rogue One. And, like I said, I think that it's, even though it uses an entirely different characters from like the earlier films, I don't think it's really a standalone film because it plays directly into A New Hope. So,
I agree with a lot of the Nostalgia Critics' complaints that the movie jumped around a lot, and it jumped from character to character, and while it didn't preclude me from forming any attachments to them, I could barely keep up with their names.
I knew what was going on.
I know what's going on too, but it's hard to keep track of all the names.
Yeah.
Their names aren't as memorable as in the other movies, even the prequel movies.
Right. As far as like using the digital likenesses of Peter Cushing and a younger Carrie Fisher. I thought they did a pretty decent job. The Nostalgia Critic and his
I didn't see any Uncanny Valley with
who was the guy that he was doing his review with?
I don't know, but it's one of his production man crew.
I've never seen that guy before.
I have.
Does he do his own videos?
I don't know, but you know he did Superman and the Nostalgia Critic crossover review with the Man of Steel.
Yeah. Anyway, the Nostalgia Critic had some complaints about it. He didn't really like the fact that they used the digital likenesses. He said Carrie Fisher's is okay, and then it wasn't, and then it was okay again, and then it wasn't.
It was only on for 10 seconds. How could you tell?
But he says that in his video. But I thought the guy who did Grand Moff Tarkin was pretty good, and I thought the digital likeness of him was spot on, and as was Carrie Fisher.
Mhm.
So, anything else you'd like to add, Josh?
Oh, Edu.
Huh?
That's the planet we're dealing with, Captain.
Edao, yeah. Edu, or whatever.